Hi, my name is Dr. Philip Kreger, and I'm an associate professor in the School of Engineering Technology at Daytona State College. And I've created this video to provide my students with some information on the expectations that I have of the students and tell them a little bit more about my courses. So the first thing you'll notice is my talking head will not always be on the screen. Generally, I only talk for a few minutes to the webcam and then I take that off, primarily because it creates a much larger video and you really don't need to see my talking head throughout the entire video. But let's look at an overview of the courses that I teach, and I generally teach them the same way because I found out that it works. My job is twofold. The first is to provide all students with an educational experience that leads you to become a better problem solver. And if you think about it, that's what businesses are looking to hire. It's someone who can solve a problem. And so this may mean a problem you've seen before, or more than likely it's something that you haven't seen before, but you've got the necessary knowledge and skills to apply what you know to solve their problem. That's the kind of person businesses want to hire. So in my mind, this requires providing you with experience with which you might be uncomfortable. And all that means is that you've probably never seen the problem before, and you might not ever see it again. However, by providing you with these types of experiences, is that you will become more comfortable in being able to approach new problems in a very positive light. And if you think about it, that's a good thing. The second major part of my job, at least to me, it might not be for other professors, but is to also provide you with fun learning experiences. And I learned this from teaching classes both face-to-face and online, is that classes that were provided in a context that was realistic and also that were fun were the ones that I learned the most from. And I found out through teaching online for the last 10 years is that students really appreciate that. Is that you can learn, but you can also have fun at the same time. So if you're watching this video, that probably means you're taking one of my online courses. And I teach a variety of courses, but most of my courses have to do with hands-on things. Computer and network security, and computer and network forensics. Now these are very hands-on topics. That is, you have to actually get in and work with the computer to learn something and to do something. So my job is twofold here, is to provide you with the information and experiences so that you learned about, that is, provide you with background information and theory about security or forensics or whatever course you're taking, and also experiences, that is, take that theory, take that background knowledge, and actually apply that to what I would call a real-world task or something that simulates that. How do I do this? Through a couple of different methods. The first is by providing you with these video lectures. And typically, the lectures are 20 minutes to 45 minutes in length. Now, of course, a traditional face-to-face class may be, let's say, an hour and a half or 2 hours. But what I found is that you can compress that 2 hours into a 20 to 45 minute video because there's not a lot of in-class distractions. And therefore, essentially, you're getting the same amount of information in that 20 to 45 minutes as you would in an actual hour and a half or 2 hour class. Now, I'll be posting usually 2 to 3 classes each week. So unless there's a large assignment that you have to work on, you should expect to download and view these videos 2 to 3 times a week. And so in the theory portion of the courses, I'll be talking over yada yada yada, the PowerPoint slides that you're seeing here. And the second thing we'll be doing, or at least that I'll be doing, are hands-on demonstrations. They're examples that you should follow to try to learn how the theory applies to real-world problems. Let's take a look at one of those right now.
Is to install 2 files on our Ubuntu 10 server. So we want to install Samba and SMB file system. And you hit enter.
So that gave you a small taste of what the videos look like. Typically, I will take several hands-on examples and demonstrate the concepts that we've learned previously in the class. And so what that allows you to do is to watch what I'm doing and to follow along with it while I'm doing it, much the same that you might be doing in a face-to-face lab. Okay, let's talk about the dreaded tests. Personally, I don't care for them. With respect to hands-on concepts like security and forensics, I don't believe they do a good job of assessing what you've learned, at least in the courses that I teach. However, in these courses, I've learned that I have to have short quizzes on occasion to verify that you're following along with the class, because there's probably 25% of my class that if they're not in class and not taking tests in classes, they're not reading the material and you're not following along, and then you come to the first assignment and you're several weeks behind. So what the short quizzes do is they prompt you to read the materials and to study the videos so that you keep up in class. And I'm doing this for your benefit, not mine. Well, so if we're talking about you watching a video, you might ask yourself, well, what if I have a question about something you've discussed? We have available to us Florida Online, which allows me to provide a resource of materials to you, including discussion groups. And so I always create several different discussion groups. Probably the most important is called Ask the Professor. And so if you do have a question about the class, post your question here and I will respond. Typically, I log into Florida Online several times a day, and the first thing I do too is go to the Ask the Professor discussion groups and answer any questions that you might have. I have no guaranteed turnaround time, but I think you will be pleased with my response. Please email me only if you have a personal question that relates to something about yourself. And the reason is that I have in the past had some students that would email me questions about the class, and I might get 5 questions related to the same topic. So what this allows me to do is, by answering a question in the Ask the Professor discussion group, I get to provide a very good, cogent, clear answer once, rather than responding to 5 separate emails. So it's better for me and it's better for you. I strongly urge you during my class to log into Florida Online at least once a day. And I want you to first view the news section, which you can't miss, because when you log into the class, it's the first section you see in the upper right hand corner. Because anything that's going on in class, I will post the most updated and relevant information in the news section. And I would also suggest that you view the other 2 groups, which would be the Ask the Professor and From the Professor discussion groups. The From the Professor are questions that I post to the class that I will expect you to answer. And so always make sure that you log in once a day and you view the news section as well as the Ask the Professor and From the Professor discussion groups. And I will assure you there will be plenty of questions that are posed in the Ask the Professor discussion group. So let's talk about the advantages and disadvantages of taking courses online. You might be new to taking courses online, and I don't want you to be afraid of them, because they do hold many advantages over face-to-face. And the first is that you can attend the class anytime, because that merely means downloading the video and watching it. So if you've got a job, after you get off your job, you can watch the video. If you're a late night person, you can watch it at night. Early morning person, you can watch it in the morning. You can watch it on your desktop, or you can download the video to your laptop, your tablet, like an iPad, or your smartphone, whatever, and you can watch the videos. Another great thing about online courses is, at least with respect to video lectures, is you can pause them and replay parts of your lecture. How many times have you been in a face-to-face class when you didn't quite catch what the professor said? and you didn't want to raise your hand for whatever reason, now you can pause and replay whatever part of the video as many times as you like without causing any distractions. So I think that's one of the clear advantages of taking an online class. In my mind, one of the most important things is at least respect to a hands-on course like the courses I teach, is that you can duplicate step by step everything that I'm doing by running the video in one part of your screen and then mimicking what I'm doing, typically in Linux, on another part of your screen. So you can pause the video, you can do exactly what I'm doing and do it as many times as you like, replaying the video, pausing the video whenever necessary, and that's a very good way to learn. And I really think this is a must. What I found is, from some of the questions that are sometimes asked on the Ask the Professor discussion group or from your assignments, I know if you've actually replicated what I've done in the videos, because sometimes the questions are asked that were clearly demonstrated in the videos. So I urge you to duplicate everything that I've done in the videos on your own. That's a very good way to learn. So the dreaded disadvantages of online courses. Well, unfortunately, one might say that there are disadvantages to taking an online course. The first is, if you're used to face-to-face labs, is that there's no professor standing over your shoulder and holding your hand and saying, this is right, this is right, this is wrong, this is wrong. But this is really a good thing, although it might be something that you're not used to. You're used to somebody looking over your shoulder and telling you something is right or wrong. However, this really doesn't help your problem-solving experience, because you should be able to tell whether you're doing something right or something wrong. And that's why it's important that you duplicate what I'm doing in the videos to help you determine and better prepare yourself for understanding whether you're doing something right or whether you're doing something wrong. If you think about it, there's not somebody looking over your shoulder on the job. So you need to get used to it. And I assume that all of you are taking this course because you want to get a job in the field. So to become a better problem solver, you need to get used to working by yourself and not having your hand held. Another disadvantage, and it's not necessarily of online courses, but all of my courses, is that I force you to do and I force you to think on your own. Once again, that's a good thing, but something you might not be used to. But what you'll find is that after you get used to this for a period, and as you do more and more assignments, that you become acclimated to it, and it's much easier to do the assignments, and you feel more confident about what you're doing. And confidence in yourself is a good thing. So even though it may be uncomfortable at first, you will get used to it and you'll feel more confident. So what does this mean for you? The first thing is that you must be a self-starter and you must be motivated. I'm not having you come to a class at a particular time. I'm not asking you questions in class. I'm not forcing you to watch the videos. That means that you choose the time to read the materials, view the videos, and practice what I've demonstrated. But you must keep up in class. If you get behind, you will be lost, because in all of the subject matter you'll be listening to, everything builds upon what you've learned previously. And therefore it's crucial that you don't get behind in class. That means keeping up with the readings, viewing the videos, and practicing. Also, this is an upper level course in engineering technology, and I expect you to demonstrate maturity. This means making sure you read the materials, view the videos, and practicing, because this is one of your last chances to get used to being responsible for your own work, because that's what you're going to see on the job. You'll be given a task, you'll be given a time limit, and you will be expected to perform or else. And so get used to it in this course and you'll do fine on the job. So what does this mean for you, and what does it mean for me? I've been teaching courses, as I said, online and face-to-face for many, many years. I've been teaching online since 2000, and I've had dozens and dozens of courses online. And what I've come to learn is that about 25% of the students will love this format from the outset, Perhaps you're a little more mature student, you've taken online courses, you have a job, and you know what the expectations are. Many of you will want to take more courses just like it because you like the freedom, and at the same time you're a self-starter and can get started without being told what to do. 60% of you, on the other hand, will struggle at first, but will come to appreciate the format as you realize you have become a better problem solver and you start to become more motivated to do things on time and to get with a course. And unfortunately, there's the rest of you. And I do get hate mail from time to time, but you know what? That's okay because I know my courses aren't for everyone. Some people like having face-to-face courses, and some people like online courses, so I don't expect to please everybody, although I do try. One thing I know about students is that everybody wants a good grade. Everybody's concerned about their grades. But I want to hopefully instill upon you is that learning comes first and your grade comes from that. The more you learn in the course, the more you will get out of the course and the better grade that you will get. And from what I've seen in the past is that even those of you who are uncomfortable with online classes at the beginning of the course, you become more acclimated to them, and you generally end up doing better in the mid portions and later parts of the course than you do at the beginning. And you know what? That's okay. I will take that into consideration. But as you take more online courses, you will become used to the freedom and the realization that you need to be a self-starter, read the materials and view the videos and so on. So the grades in all of my classes are based on a combination of your performance on assignments and tests, and in general I more greatly weight the assignments than the tests, but to get a really good grade you have to do well on both. But the ratio of assignments to tests in terms of how much goes into your final grade depends upon the specific class, so you'll need to read that in your class-specific syllabus. Something I've learned, late assignments, is that the more people I allow to turn in late assignments, the more they turn in late, which is really not fair to the people who get started early and finish on time. Why should somebody who turns in their assignment 3 days late get the same grade as somebody who turned it in on time? It's not fair to the student who does do their work on time. So my policy is that I will not grade late assignments. If you've been working on an assignment and you find for some reason that you can't finish it, perhaps due to other coursework, you go ahead and turn in what you have. But turn it in on time, because a partial grade is much better than getting a 0. Note that there is no extra credit. Please do not ask. If you do ask, I will refer you right back to the syllabus. I won't even answer the question, because I found out that students who ask for extra credit and want more work would be much better off by starting early and doing better in early parts of the course. However, I treat quizzes a little differently. If you do miss a quiz, I will drop that grade. Or, if you take all the quizzes, which I strongly suggest you do, I'll just drop your lowest score. That's a good way to raise your grade. And so the reason I give these quizzes is just to make sure that you've read the material. They're not really geared toward assessing how much you understand about the topic, because that's where we get into the assignments. But they're just making sure that you've read the material so that when you watch the videos and you're doing the assignment, you really know what you're doing. Now all the quizzes are online and they're multiple choice and they'll be short, let's say 10 or so questions. You just need to make sure that you've read the assigned material prior to the quiz. So the quizzes are relatively easy. Of course, they're multiple choice and there are no trick questions. However, you won't have sufficient time to look up the answers. You should know them already. That is, you should have read the material and you should have studied it, and therefore the answers to the quizzes should be self-evident. Now I need to talk about cheating and plagiarism. That's essentially using somebody else's work as if it was your own. From all my years of teaching, going back to 1994, what I found is this won't be a problem for 99% of you, but there's always one or two in a course, typically a larger course of course, that will feel the need to turn in somebody else's work. I can tell you right now this is not a good idea, and here's why. First, I will catch you, and it happens every single semester. Second, I will give you a 0 for the assignment, no questions asked, and you will have to come and meet me face to face in my office. Finally, it's kind of hard to cheat on my assignments because I change the assignments and the quizzes each semester. Some I change just a little, and some I change totally so that they're entirely different. So if I change an assignment just a little, it's really obvious when someone is used to prior class's work. It's very obvious. So please don't make me give you a 0, and you won't have to come in and speak to me face to face about the cheating if you just follow these simple rules. Use your own work and work hard. So really the bottom line of this short video was that I want you to learn something and I want you to have fun. This course should be demanding. If it's not demanding, that means you're not learning anything. And I assume that you're paying your hard-earned dollars or your parents' hard-earned dollars to learn something. I want you to take away from all the courses you take with me something that will make you a more desirable job hire or help you to, let's say, get a new job or to work more efficiently at your current job. But I want you to have fun. There's no reason you can't learn and be frustrated and annoyed and have fun and learn something. Also, you should come away from this course being a better problem solver. You may get frustrated at first, but you'll learn to deal with that frustration. You'll become a better problem solver, you'll become a better worker, and have fun. What more could you ask for?